Hi everyone, Salesforce Admin Training Day 27. Today's agenda is quickly go through the previous session overview and then we'll talk about the Web2 lead and we'll see the navigation steps. And also we'll talk about the Web2 case and how to generate a Web2 case HTML generator, and we'll go through the assignment auto response rules. And what is the lead auto response rule? Then we'll have finally questions. Now, before going to this, what did we learn previous session before the Web2 lead?
Automated transfer,
Automated transfer,
assignment rule,
segment rule, automated transfer.
Yeah,
difference between public rule and queue.
public group, differences between the public
the
group
problem. Yes.
and
Sorry.
now today we are going to talk about Web2 lead. Now in the Web2 lead, so Web2 lead as the word it says, that means we are capturing the lead. We are capturing the lead from the web. To capture the lead from the web, we are going to use the Web2 lead. Now assume that there is a website. The website name is www.xyz.com. Now we have a other side Salesforce service and then database. Assume that this website, in the website we have a form. Now in the database there are multiple objects are there. Now in the website we have a home, about our service, like this is how usually the website is. For example, if I click on this apply online, if I click on this apply online, now there is a form that gets displayed, right? So the form is a first name, last name, email, phone number, type, city. These are the details which are entered here, and click on the submit. Once we click on the submit button, what will happen? The request sent to the Salesforce server. The request sent to Salesforce server. In the Salesforce server, it is going to cross verify the logic. It is going to cross verify the certain logic, and then with the help of web service, it is going to place the data inside the database.com. That means the data is entered in the third-party website like Maruti.com or Apple or some kind of a website we have it, ICICI Bank, some kind of a website. So in the website, we are entering the data in the form. Once we enter the data, now the request will go to the Salesforce server. In the Salesforce server, we have a web service. Using the web service, the data will be inserted into the database.com. Now this is overall the picture of the Web2 lead. Now, for the Web2 lead, how can we capture it? Now, in order to capture this Web2 lead, we have to enable the Web2 lead enabled option. If you enable this, and if you implement this form in the Salesforce, so based on this form selection, the data gets inserted into the Salesforce. Now, whatever this form is there here, this form is implemented in Salesforce. It's not implemented in the website. So what is happened here? Salesforce has implemented this form, and this form is implemented and it is injected. That means it is inserted within the website. Somebody has to, in the website, we have a website designer will be there. Website designer will be there. So we need to provide this HTML file. We need to generate this HTML file and provide this HTML file to the website. So what website will be doing it? Website will be inserting the data into the here, inserting the data inside by clicking on this, they will insert inside the embed the file into the website. So as soon as the user click on this, the Salesforce file gets open and they can enter the information. Once they enter the information, it will go and sit into the Salesforce database. Now, in the Web2 lead, to capture the user information and also to store the information as a new lead in the Salesforce. Salesforce lets you easily create the Web2 lead forms that capture the users' information or visitors' information. Users' information or visitors' information from the website. Now, before creating the record, we need to submit. That means I need to submit the information from the website. So before creating or submitting via Web2 lead, Salesforce runs the field validation rule, whether they have entered perfectly all the data correctly or not. Is there any validation is available? So those kind of a validation Salesforce is going to execute. If there are any errors, Salesforce will not create a lead. In case there are no errors, then what will happen? Salesforce is going to create a lead inside the Salesforce. But as soon as Salesforce identify there is an error, then simply it will not create any records inside this. Now, the daily limit for the Web2 lead revenue is 500. That means we are keep on creating the Web2 lead, but what is the maximum limit that how many leads can I capture it from the web? So total limit is a 500. Now, if I receive more than 500, what will happen? If I receive a more than 500, it will sits into a queue. There is a queue will be there. Inside the queue, it will store. That means there is something called pending request queue. In the pending request queue, maximum of 5,000, 50,000 combination of records can be stay in that pending queue. Now, if we receive a more than 500, so what will happen? The organization limit is a 500. The default organization limit for the Web2 lead or Web2 case, combination of both Web2 lead or Web2 case, the combination is 500. Now, in case if we receive more than 500, we have inside the Salesforce something called pending request queue. Now, inside this pending request queue, it is a combination of Web2 lead as well as the Web2 case. So, both the data will be stored into the pending request queue. Pending request queue. Once it is placed into the pending request queue, like how many I can place it into the pending request queue? Maximum of 50,000. Maximum of 50,000 is the queue limit. Now, Salesforce does not support the rich text area. Now, in the Web2 lead, now let's say one example, like we have a audi.com, right? We have a audi.com. Now this is the car which we wanted to buy it. So let's click on the test drive. Once we click on the test drive, so what will happen? There is a form that is get displayed. Now whatever this form you can see here, this form is we are going to implement in Salesforce. We are going to implement this in Salesforce. So in Salesforce, whatever the lead level fields are there, those fields will be displayed here. Now this whatever the fields are there, these fields are at the object level. We have a field and those fields are displayed here. Those fields are displayed. So this is exactly we are going to do it. Now it can accept any type of information. That means if I have a data type of text, right, or a checkbox or radio button or a long text area, or else if it is a pick list, anything can be accepted in the form, but a rich text area will not be accepted. Rich text area will not be accepted. So that cannot be accepted in the Web2 lead. So it will not accept the rich text area into the Web2 lead or Web2 case. Take a notes of it.
Swapna. Hello. Hello.
Yes,
Yeah, Swapna, this daily limit of request 550,000, is it related to only developer edition or all the editions of Salesforce?
this is mostly all the additions, like if we want a more data to be captured, then client has to discuss with Salesforce to get the more information.
Thank you.
Okay. Now let's move on. Is it done? Taking the notes? Now let's move on. Now, in order to create a Web2 lead, the navigation steps are: click on a setup menu, search for an option Web2 lead in the quick find, and click on Web2 lead link. Click on Web2 lead link, go to the Web2 lead link settings. There we will see the edit button. So if you select this Web2 lead, if you select this Web2 lead enable, that means you are going to implement a Web2 lead. If you deselect it, that means we are not going to implement the Web2 lead. Now click on a save button. Once you click on a save button, so here this is the option how it look like. Like when you go to the Web2 link, now this is the how it shows the Web2 lead settings, and you need to click on edit and enable the Web2 lead enabled option. So once it is enabled, so we can, that means we can start working on the Web2 lead. Now, let's say here, let's go to the setup, and let's say here Web2 lead, Web2 lead. Now, if you click on the edit button, this edit button is going to be setting edit button. Now, do you want to enable the web to lead enable option? And require reCAPTCHA verification. If you want to do the reCAPTCHA verification, you can do that. Now, this is how you need to just enable this. And what is the default lead creator? What are the name of the your or whoever wants the, like default whose name should be displayed. So you can specify that person user and default response template if you want any template to be responded. Now click on this cancel. We have already enabled. Now the next step is we need to create a web to lead form. In order to create a web to lead form, there are 4 steps to configure the web to lead. Step 1 is enable the web to lead feature inside the organization. Now step 2 is step 1 is already completed. Step 2 is we need to generate the web to lead HTML form with the required field which is used to capture the lead information. Right, so this is the second. First one is done. Second one is web to lead form. Now in this, it is going to ask you that what are the fields that you wanted to display on the form? What are the fields that you wanted to display on the form? So it is going to display the fields here. What are the available fields and what are the fields that you wanted to show on the page? What are the fields that you wanted to show on the page? So that's the information is available here. Now you can arrange these fields, which field should be displayed first. It should be displayed first name or it should be displayed the company name. You can do the order of this displaying the fields. Now enter the URL. So whatever the URL is the written URL, enter the written URL. That means once you click on it, once you enter or once the customer is enter the information, click on submit button. Click on submit button. Once you click on the submit button, now you have to enter the details here where it should be redirected. The written URL where it should be redirected, you need to specify the URL. Let's suppose you wanted to redirect to the salesforce.com. Specify the salesforce.com URL. Now the next one is reCAPTCHA. In case if you want to implement the reCAPTCHA, you can use this reCAPTCHA. Now finally click on this generate button. So once you click on the generate button, there is a HTML code gets generated. Now let's implement this. Now we have first step is completed. Second step is create web to lead form. For creating a web to lead form, now the first thing is that which are the information you wanted to enter. Company, let's say first name, last name, email, company, city, and let me give employees, annual revenue, and rating. Let's say rating has to be displayed after the email. Now click on this. These are the fields should be displayed. And once the form is submitted, redirect it to the google.com. Redirect to the google.com. Right now, I'm not creating the reCAPTCHA. Right, so uncheck this option. Now language is default. And then finally click on the generate button. Once you click on the generate button, now we have this HTML code that got generated. HTML code got generated. Now copy this HTML code, go to the notepad or notepad++. Whatever the HTML is generated by the web to lead, so that information, whatever the code is generated by the web to lead, that has to be placed between the HTML body. Between the HTML and body, we need to place it. And the file has to be saved with .htm/.html. Take a notes of this. Open the notepad and place the whatever the generated code is there. The generated code has to be placed inside the HTML and body. Let me know once you have taken the notes. Okay, now let's go ahead and do that. Now I have already copied. I'll go to the HTML page. HTML, open HTML, and then close HTML. And inside this, we have a body, open, and then close body. Within this, we need to specify whatever the logic that we have copied. Whatever the logic that we have copied, place this inside the body. Now save this file, save as. Now Notepad+, let me save this into the drive. And I'm going to save this here, lead.html. Lead.html. Click on this. Save. Now let me go through this, whatever the data that we have written. Now here, what it says is metadata. What is the content type? Content type is going to explain whether it is a text or HTML. It says HTML, right? And which format it is? UTF-8. Now, below it says that form is a web2.salesforce.com. That means whatever we have generated the file, whatever the file we have generated, it is a web2 lead file. It is web2 lead file. So it is giving the link here, web2 lead. You can use the method post. By using the method post, you can post that means whatever the data you entered in this link, that can be posted to the Salesforce. And if I have a multiple org, and multiple org is generated the multiple leads. Multiple org is generated the multiple leads. Now, if it is already generated the multiple leads, now how system will know or how third party will know that I have a 3 websites, right? I have a 3 websites. In these 3 websites, 2 websites are need to insert into the one Salesforce, another website is need to insert into the another Salesforce org. Another Salesforce org. Now, how these websites will know that I should be going to the only this Salesforce, not the different Salesforce. And whenever we submit the data from this website, only it should go to this site, not this site. How do we know that? Now it is decided inside the hidden one is called return URL. Here it is OID, the organization ID. The organization ID. Now, whatever this organization ID is there, this is in the company information, you can find the same organization ID. Now, based on this, it will go to that particular org. Now, once it is submitted, it will go back to the URL which is called, it will go back to the information, or it will go back to the, once it is submitted, redirect to the google.com. So it is mentioned here, red URL, that means redirect the URL. Now these are hidden, you cannot see on the form. And the next one, whatever the fields that we have selected, first name, last name, email, rating, warm, these all gets converted into the label. And in the rating, we have a 3 values. So those gets converted into the option values. So you have a hot, warm, cold, right? Company information, city, email, annual revenue, and then finally we have a submit button. Finally, we have a submit button. Now I'll close this. Now let me open this site. Now here we have created the lead.html. Just click on this. Now here we have a first name, last name, email. All this data is available. Now it is right now, it does not have any CSS. If you want to add a CSS, you can add the CSS. Or else you give this HTML file to the website designer. Whoever is the website designer is there, that website designer, we have to give this information to that website designer. Now that website designer will take this HTML code, and if they want to add their CSS, they can add their CSS. Now let's assume that I'm entering the information here. Let's say the data that I'm going to enter, the lead creation is, let's say first name is Neeraj, last name is Kumar, and email is nk@gmail.com, and the rating is hot, and company is, let's say, Salesforce. Now city is Hyderabad, and employees are around 200. Annual revenue is, let's assume that 80 lakhs. Now, in case if we have a Neeraj, so in that case, I'm just adding here 23. Neeraj 23, the today's date. Now click on the submit button. Once we click on the submit button, it will be redirected to the google.com. It will be redirected to the google.com. Now let's go ahead and check this, whether these informations are there or not. Now duplicate. Now here, let's go to the lead. Now, let's check whether the lead is created or not, all open leads. Now, Neeraj 23 record is created inside the Salesforce. Now, this is the record it is created. Today it is created 2308. That means now we have created the lead from the website. We have not created it from the Salesforce. We have not created it from the website. We have created from the website. It's not from the Salesforce. So this is how we use the Web2 lead. Now, in case if you want to check your code, if you want to check the code, let's say JavaScript. Now we have something called HTML beautiful. I'm going to give you this. Now, in case before testing it, you want to check whether it is created or not, how it is working this form. Copy this generated file, go to this website and place the place here. Now it is going to show the output. Whatever the data you have pasted, it is going to show you the output. Right, this is your code, and this is the data that you have, the UI part of it, the UI part of it.
Ma'am, here one doubt.
Yeah.
Actually, in object level, we mentioned some field as required fields. Okay. When it is designed as a Web2 lead, in website also we have to declare that is a required fields, like any validation rules we have to apply as it is whatever the required
You have a required
fields
field.
are there in the object.
Yeah, so if you have a required field, you must add those required field into the form. If you don't have a required field, it will not be created. For example, now if I'm going to create a lead here, let's say that, click on the new button. Now we have a last name is required, company is required. Now what I'll do, I'll remove the company. Now let's go back, Web2 lead. Now create a Web2 lead form. Now I'm going to remove the company, which is a mandatory field. Right, so here click on this generate. When you click on this generate, www.google.com, click on generate button. Now let's copy this, open the same. Now instead of this data, I'm going to place forms. Click on save. Now open this. Now we do not have a company information. Let's say that I'm going to create some lead. Let's say I'm going to create Sirisha, last name is P, and let's say email is sp@gmail.com, and city is Hyderabad. And state I'm going to give PP. Now click on this. Now what happened? The last name is not there, but it is got successfully submitted. Did it create the record? Go to the lead. Let's say today's lead, what are the today's leads are there? Let's click on this series shopping. Now what is this? Not provided. Company information is not provided. So it's a Salesforce site, it is mandatory. In case if there is no data is available, we cannot create it. Let's say I'm going to make another field is mandatory. Let's say it is by default taken the not provided.
So if you want to make the fields mandatory in the website, in the web page, so through the validation rules we have to do.
So yeah, you can add it. So you have some required HTML. These all the HTML code, right?
Okay, okay.
So label
Understood.
HTML. So whatever the HTML word is there, you can use that.
Okay, but means whatever the required fields are there in the order wise, it will not applicable to the web page. Is it enough?
Sometimes it is not applicable. Sometimes it will throw an error. Like if I remove the, let's say if I remove it, now for example, I'll copy this and I'll go to the Beautify. Let's copy, let's enter, let's say that I'm going to remove the last name also. I'm going to remove this last name, right? So last name is also mandatory. Test 2308. and email is test@gmail.com. And city is Hyderabad. And state is AP. Click on submit. Now, one more thing, observe this. As soon as the record is created, it is assigning the lead owner to the Hyderabad sales queue. Because previously we have, before this session, we have worked on auto assignment lead owner auto assignment. We have worked on it, right? Assignment rule which we have implemented. In the assignment rule, it says that if the city is equal to Hyderabad, then it should assign to the owner Hyderabad sales queue. So that kind of a logic, it will automatically execute it. Now I have submitted the lead. So once it is submitted the lead, now let's go to the today's lead. Now it is test default. Now it is by default, it is taking the last name is not provided. Yeah, so if it is a mandatory, by default, Salesforce will take it as a not provided.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Now, in case if you want to have a regex implementation, reCAPTCHA implementation, you can create a reCAPTCHA because in Web2 lead, click on this Web2 lead, create Web2 lead form. Now here I'm going to say that redirect to the google.com. And reCAPTCHA. In the reCAPTCHA, it is going to ask us API key pair. That means if I wanted to create a reCAPTCHA, I need to have some customer key and customer number. Now, if I click on this new button, it will ask the site key and secret number. So that means we need to generate the reCAPTCHA key and reCAPTCHA secret. So in order to generate the reCAPTCHA key and reCAPTCHA secret, we need to have this website. Let's go to this website. Now in this, now go to this URL, which is called reCAPTCHA admin create. reCAPTCHA admin create. Now here, let's assume that label name is batch 23. Now here, I need to specify the domain. If you want to specify any domain, you can specify. So right now I'm going to give you the random domain name. Random domain name. Let's say the domain name is this one. Now if you go to the domain, so we have a domains are available. So let's go ahead and copy this. We have not activated any domain here. I'm just giving those domain information there. Now click on submit. So we need to use this, the second one. I'm not a robot, not the score based. Score based is a different one. Verify request with score. No, I do not want the score based. I want this option. I'm not a robot checkbox. Now if you go to the Audi, now if you go here website and if you click on this test drive, it is going to show you the information of I'm not a robot, right? So if you want this option, so what you need to do is you need to check the second one. Click on this submit. Now the key and secret is generated. Now copy this key. paste it here. This is the key, and the second one is secret. Now copy this key. Now let's go to the Salesforce. In Salesforce, we will generate the Web2 lead using the reCAPTCHA. In research, Web2 lead, click on this Web2 lead. And let's say here, www.google.com. Let's say I'm going to specify the reCAPTCHA here. Now I need to keep the key. Click on the new button. Now specify the key. This is, let's say, domain and secret. Copy this and paste it here. Click on it, save. So once it is done, we can enable this server fallback and default. Click on generate. Once we click on generate, now here it is generated the metadata, and we have some kind of a script is generated here. For the reCAPTCHA, the script is generated. CAPTCHA settings, right? reCAPTCHA response, all these things are included in the code. So copy this and let's go ahead and enter this data here. Now it is going to display this. Now here it is displaying the error because we do not have a valid domain. Valid domain is not there. So that's how we can enter the details. Now let's move on. Step 3 is placing that HTML form inside the organization website. Whatever the website we have it inside this organization website, we need to place it. So maintained by the web designers. Step 4 is access the Web2 lead form from the company website and create the lead record. So similarly, Web2 case also same. Similarly, Web2 case is also same. Erase a case from the company website. Quick find search Web2 case. But when you search here Web2 case, Web2 lead has a combination of two things, right? So it has a settings in this as well as when you click on this button, the HTML gets generated. But whereas in the Web2 case, these two parts are divided separately. Generating the HTML is a different and setting is a different. In the Web2 case, setting, if you want to enable the Web2 case, enable this. And if you want to make a changes to the required capture or response, if you want to have a template, you can choose this and click on the save. And Web2 case HTML generator, if you want to generate a HTML, you can generate it. Because now let's assume that I'm going to create one more field. Who is that? Rajeshwari. Okay, let's say here I'm going to create a Rajeshwari. And last name is Salesforce rs@gmail.com. Company is Hyderabad. Hyderabad. And then state AP, click on this save. Now let's go ahead and check this Web2 lead. Click on this leads, today's lead. And did we create it anything? It is not created because the form is having a error. because the form is having a error. The reCAPTCHA does not work. If the reCAPTCHA is failed, you cannot use that. You cannot use that. Error for a site owner. Invalid domain for site key. Right, so you have this reCAPTCHA error. When you have a file error, if you submit it also, it will not be submitted because it's having a file is having a error. So you cannot submit, that won't be submitted in the auth. Yes. Now let's move on. Now Web2 case is also same. Web2 case, you need to enable it. HTML generator, you need to generate the HTML code. So two options are there. For Web2 case, basic settings are, you need to go to the Web2 case settings and you need to check this. And if you want the reCAPTCHA, default case origin, if you want the web or phone, whatever the default web capture is there, you need to check that. And HTML generator similar to the whatever we have seen to the Web2 lead, the same concept is available. Do not use the reCAPTCHA for now. Okay, now assignment, configure the Web2 case, generate a Web2 case HTML and submit the case from HTML form. Once it is submitted, it should be redirected to the salesforce.com. So once it is redirected in the Salesforce, a case has to be created and it should be assigned to the case assignment rule. So last session, I have given the assignment rule. So based on that case assignment rule, it should be assigned to that specific queue or that specific owner. So configure the case assignment rule to assign the case record to the associated queue based on the priority. Like a priority is high, then it should be assigned to tier 1. So this assignment is already I have given, that's the same assignment. But in this case, what we are doing is we are creating the case from the website, created inside the Salesforce. Inside Salesforce, once it is created, it should be assigned to this queue. Okay, so take the assignments. Taking the notes. Now, auto response rules. Now, in case after creating the Web2 lead, we want to send automatic response. We want to send automatic response. Now, in that case, which response email do we have to send it? Can be decided using the auto response rule. So we can determine which email template to be sent to whenever the lead and case is created. We can specify that. So in auto response rules are automatically sends the email response to the lead or a case or a submission based on the record entered by the user. Now, auto response rules are divided into two types. One is the lead auto response rule, and second one is case auto response rule. Now, if you search in the setup auto response, you will be able to see Web2 lead auto response rule and Web2 case auto response rules. Now, let me show you that. In the setup, search for a auto response. Now we have a lead auto response rule and then case auto response rule. When you click on this lead auto response rule, it will be redirected to this page. And at a time, only one rule is active. At a time, only one rule is active. Right now, we have an active of new rule. Now, if I create another rule, let's say that this is the Web2 lead auto response rule. Click on the active. This rule is already there. So what I'll do is lead automation. Let's say auto lead. Auto lead. Click on this save. So once I click on this, now it is activated. This. Now whatever the previous one is, the previous one is deactivated. Now click on this auto lead. Now we have a rule entries. We can specify the rule entries. This is similar to the assignment rule, whatever we have discussed. Now let's say here it is a sorting order 1. Now let's say criteria is I'm going to specify city equals to, if it is a Hyderabad, send different email to the Hyderabad members. Right, so here name is, now this name you can specify any name. Let's say that we are going to send lead automation lead or a automation rule. Now here email address, this email address has to be present in the organization-wide email address. That means for every org, there will be a common email. Every org, there will be a common email will be there. So where we have to enter inside the organization-wide email address. So this organization-wide email address defines the common email address. It's kind of a generic, whatever is happening in the Salesforce, if you want to copy some common email ID. So those informations will be available inside the organization-wide. Now click on this setup, search for an organization-wide address. So you will be able to see this screen. Now here you have a add new email ID. So click on that, add a new email ID. Now let's say here I'm entering the setup, organization-wide email address. Now in this organization-wide email address, you need to enter the one email address. Could be any email address, but this address, there has to be a user inside the system. Enter any user email ID and it should be verified email. It should be verified email address. Copy this email address and enter this email address. Now, in order to create this, you just need to click on the add button and specify whatever the email address that you wanted to make it. Right. So, and here select the user selection and the default no reply. default, no reply. Now, once you select it, now here give the any name and email address. Now, what are the email address you are specifying here? Make sure that email address is already available for one of the user. One of the user, it is already available. Now provide that, and if you want any template here, specify the template. Let's say that I'm going to provide here sales department, new customer email. Now click on save button. Right, so once that is mentioned, now it is going to be cross-verified all the details. Now automation rule, this is the say samskarit@gmail.com, and the template is new customer. Now as soon as the lead is created, now I have already the lead information. So let's open this. And I'm going to enter the new information here. Let's say now I'm going to select here, first name is Sai and Teja, and let's say here st@gmail.com. City is Hyderabad and state AP. Let's click on submit. Once I click on submit, in the Salesforce, whatever the today's lead is there has to be a lead has to be created. So Sai Teja record is created, and email ID we have entered incorrectly. Now what I'll do is I'll delete this record. Delete, and let's create another lead. Sai 1 and Teja 1. I'm going to give some scar ID @gmail.com. City is Hyderabad. You can give any email ID here. You can give any email ID. Hyderabad and state. I'll leave that. Click on submit. Now refresh. Now there is one record is created. And similarly, I email has sent. Welcome to the GenWord community. This is the same email that we have selected in the auto response. Right, so this is the email that's sent to the customer. Where we have selected this information, we have selected here, new customer email. Open this template. So this template talks about the GenWord. Right, so GenWord community. So that's exactly the email we might have received it. Let me show you that. It is sent to the Samskar IT. So here it is. Dear Sai 1, all of us, GenWord, we are glad to. So this is the template that we wanted to send. So that is the auto response rule. That is auto response rule. Now take a assignment, create a org-wide email address, verify the email, and then create a case auto response rule. Once you create the case auto response rule, the rule name is a case rule, and activate this rule, and the rule entry is first order created, where it says formula evaluate to true. Formula evaluate to true. So formula evaluate to true means what? Whenever we are creating the, now here I am creating the new rule. So whenever I am creating the new rule, we have a two type of this. One is criteria is met, another one is formula evaluate to true. So you can simply specify here true. Again, simply specify here true, and then enter the name, enter the org-wide email address, choose the existing email template, click on the done. Now for testing, create a case on the website and submit the case. Case should be created on Salesforce, assignment rule should be fire, and then auto response rule also should be fire. So user should receive the email. So this is the testing. Note down the assignment.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
one doubt.
Yeah.
Actually, in object, suppose in lead object, if we created the email template, so when we create the record through the web to lead, so that time that email template automatically that email will go, or we or whichever we created from the this web to lead email, which one will execute? No?
Yeah,
Or
we'll
it will
talk
be
about
over.
that. Just give me a second. Let's complete this
Yeah.
session.
Yeah.
So that's all for today.